The idea for today's video actually came from a very interesting conversation that I had the other day with one of my amazing 101 students. She asked me what she should do when she just has all of these different ideas floating around in her head and new ideas popping in day to day in terms of new artwork that she wants to create and new projects that she wants to work on. She was asking me if I had any tips on how to sort through these ideas and how to make sure that she's not wasting time on things that are not going to propel her forward in her progress artistically, and just make sure that she's not wasting her time on things that she shouldn't do. Essentially, how do you know if all of these ideas that pop up that you have floating around in your head or that come up during the day are actually worth pursuing and spending time and putting effort into? And honestly, I could so relate to this struggle. I remember feeling this exact same way, especially in the beginning of my journey, but even nowadays, if I'm not careful and I don't stay focused on my goals and my priorities, with the internet and social media, it's so easy to fall for that shiny object syndrome, because we're thrown all of this amazing artwork is just thrown at our faces all day long, created by these amazing artists, and we're inspired to pursue and learn about all of these different things, right? But it's essential to prioritize your goals, to be clear on the things that you personally want to grow in right now in this current point in time. Because otherwise, if you're not clear, it's just so easy to get distracted by all of these different things. You're going to end up making just one teeny tiny fraction of the progress that you could be making if you're scattered and constantly distracted. And you're just going to make that entire first part of your journey, when you're a quote unquote beginner, last way longer than it should last. And you're not going to really get anywhere if you pursue everything at once and you're unclear about where you want to get to. Plus, remember that you can pursue different things later, but you have to make sure that you understand where you're at right now and what your priorities are right now, so that you can focus on that. But man, I could so relate to that struggle, because I felt super scattered, overwhelmed with all of these different topics and skills that I had to grow in. And when you're in the beginning of your journey, like in that entire first year, you're full of self-doubt, of insecurity, of just lack of clarity about what you want to do. And that is okay. I want you to know that it's okay. Sometimes it is a matter of you giving into your curiosities, right? And actually experiencing those things. And then the clarity comes through doing and through experiencing. It's not until you experience things for yourself that you know what you like, what you don't like, and then you're able to get clearer and clearer on what your goals and your priorities should be. And that is perfectly fine, because you're discovering yourself artistically. So be patient and give yourself time and grace, especially in the beginning. And this scattered feeling, this feeling of overwhelm and being constantly distracted and not knowing what to work on, I know can be incredibly difficult, especially for self-taught artists, because you don't go through that period of being in art school in which you're given assignments by someone else. You're given project briefs that you have to fulfill, right, by a certain date. And so you have to take on that learning in terms of both looking for resources and also giving yourself assignments and projects to work on and giving yourself due dates and stuff like that. People who go to art school, they have that experience, but you as a self-taught artist, you're in full control of your learning and your development. And so it's even more important that you do what you can to develop those skills, those abilities, to really set clear goals, which, by the way, remember I shared a full workshop on goal setting and time management. I'll make sure to link to it down below in the text section of this post, just in case you haven't checked it out. I highly, highly recommend it. But you have to really build up those abilities to better manage your time, to set clear goals and strategic goals, and really be disciplined about how you're using your time, and get used to focusing on specific projects that are determined based on your goals. Having said all that, what I want to offer to you guys today are 5 key tips or essential pieces of information to remember that have really helped me, especially for you guys who are struggling with this or something similar. These are 5 things that are going to help you avoid that overwhelm, that scattered feeling, and are going to help you move forward faster in your journey. Key thing number 1 to remember when you're feeling overwhelmed with this vast array of ideas that you're feeling like pursuing on any given day, and just you're feeling scattered and you don't know what to work on, is first, I just want you to remember that this is actually a good thing. You are an artist, you are a creative, and you want to have ideas coming to you constantly. This is an amazing thing. This is a characteristic of amazing artists. Having all of these different ideas that you want to bring to life, right? And all these different areas that you want to grow in. So see this as a positive thing. Hopefully these inspirations are coming from within you, at least most of the time. I'm going to talk more about this in just a bit in another tip, but see this characteristic of yourself constantly having new ideas as an anchor point for you that lets you know that you're a true artist. And yes, absolutely, it can be overwhelming to have so many ideas at once that you want to work on, but it's just a matter of learning a few strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you next. So let's move on to point number 2. Tip number 2 is going to be to write your ideas down. I like writing them down physically in a notebook. If you're more of a digital note taker, you can also do that if you want to, if that's more your style. But I always carry a little notebook around with me, just a little teeny tiny notebook with lines. It doesn't even have to be like a drawing or painting sketchbook. Write your ideas down so that you don't forget those ideas. Maybe you won't work on it right now or soon, but you never know. Maybe at some point in the future, you're gonna wanna work on that idea. And don't feel that any idea is dumb. Really write everything down, from the smallest idea that really maybe even doesn't make much sense to you, to the largest idea that you are super excited about. Write everything down. I remember listening at one point in some podcast or something, an interview, I can't remember what it was. This person was saying how the human brain is made to come up with ideas, but not necessarily to remember them. And so I'm a big proponent for getting things down on paper, because it removes the overwhelm in and of itself when you get everything that you have in your brain down on paper and see it in just tangible written form, because you're able to just breathe and know that your idea is somewhere else being kept safe, that you're not going to forget it. Tip number 3 is to acknowledge that not every single idea that comes to you is meant to be pursued. Some percentage of them are probably not going to be pursued at all. Another percentage of those ideas are probably meant for you as just personal, smaller studies or explorations for sketchbooks, or just smaller pieces that you're going to be working on your own, for your own development, for your own kind of self-discovery and exploration. And the other percentage are ideas that are actually going to be intended or meant for larger pieces or series even. Just artwork that you're going to be spending more time on. So knowing those 3 kind of categories, that some of them are just not meant to be pursued at all, and you have to be okay with that. Others are just meant for smaller pieces for yourself, for kind of behind the scenes self-exploration and development work, studies that you need to do. And the third category are actually larger projects that are meant to be like worked on for longer and that you're going to be sharing with more people. When a new idea comes to you, practice dumping it or categorizing it into any of these buckets. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. I mean, maybe in the future, as you continue moving on in your journey, an idea that initially went into the personal study and exploration work turns later into an idea that you have for a larger series or larger piece. You really never know. As you move forward in your journey, you continue evolving as an artist. Your goals change, and this is normal. But again, going back to what I was saying before, it's important to know where you're at now and then move forward based on where you are now in terms of your current skill level and your current goals. And this goes hand in hand with tip number 4. And this is to always be clear on your personal goals for right now. And ask yourself if this idea that just came to you can actually be connected to any of your current goals in any shape, way, or form. Because if you can't connect it in any way, shape, or form to your current goals, then it's probably meant for later, or it's not worth pursuing right now. It's gonna distract you. And again, if you're just getting started on your journey and you don't know what your goals are yet, you just feel curious about exploring all these different subjects and techniques and mediums, that is okay. It's okay to go through that phase initially. But if you're at a point at which you've been working consistently on your art and you have an indication, you have a feeling of the specific medium that you want to just commit to long term, or a specific subject or subjects, whether it's landscapes, animal portraits, human portraits, abstracts, whatever it is, if you have a medium and a specific subject that really calls to you, that's a key indication on what you should be working on and the art fundamentals that you should be delving deeper into. So if you have any degree of clarity, then you should be setting strategic goals. Okay, because if you don't set strategic goals, you're gonna get nowhere fast. So again, if it relates to your goals in any shape, way, or form, or you can come up with a creative idea to connect it to any of your goals, then go for it. But if it doesn't, then just leave it for later. Set it aside for now. Maybe in the future, you could use that idea. Okay, and moving on to the 5th and final tip that I want to share with you today, and you've probably heard me say this time and time again if you've been part of any of my online art communities for any amount of time, and this is to limit consumption and increase creation. As an artist, you're meant to create. And it's through creating and building up your work from scratch and not necessarily getting inspired by external means, external people, but getting inspiration from within you and building things from scratch based on your own ideas and concepts and going through that process again and again, that you're gonna get the most development sooner. And if you keep yourself from creating, from listening to yourself because of this, everything that I was mentioning in the beginning, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, this little negative gremlin that is always telling you that you're not good enough, that nothing that you create is good enough, that you're wasting time and energy and supplies and whatnot, and that makes you procrastinate because you're afraid, or you simply don't trust in your own ideas enough, that you're constantly looking at others' ideas to get started, then that is going to make you just move forward way more slowly. And of course, following artist tutorials because you want to become better at using a medium, or you want to improve how you draw or paint a subject or something like that, that is perfectly fine if it is oriented or directed towards your goals. It's one thing to consume helpful resources and content and classes and books when they are directly related to your goals, and quite another to just randomly start doing something and devoting time and energy into something that just popped up at any given point in time and you just felt like working on it out of whim. They're completely different things. I would recommend making sure that the amount of time that you're spending creating is greater than the amount of time that you're spending consuming. I hope that you enjoyed this one. I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any comments or questions at all, go ahead and leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today, and see you soon. Bye guys.